Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are. We just want to say thank you for tuning in. And we appreciate you guys coming to another edition of Think Tactical, your prepping news magazine station podcast thingy, where we are trying to make it to where you will always think tactical and be prepared to save your own life, your own skin. When the defecation hits the roto oscillator, we will all be prepared. And I have my two buddies here, two work colleagues and friends that have been with me for a long, long time. We have Coach Myron Petro. And
good evening, hello, good morning, good day.
And we have Eclipse Bob Coleman.
Good day, all.
And it's glad to have you guys on here. We have had a little break. You guys that have been watching us and following us, first of all, we'd like to thank you. Our channel is still growing, and people have been listening to the old stuff that we made. We're just so thankful that you guys have stuck with us. We've had some health issues. Those of you guys who have been following me on Black Dragon Biker TV have seen some of the health issues with your own eyes. So we're healing. We're looking better. We're more svelte, and we're feet back in the water, and we're moving forward. So, hey, Myron and Bob, how you guys been over the last couple of weeks, or months, actually?
We're good. I've kept myself going, kept busy here, and still doing things, still getting out to the range at least once a week or so, keeping my skills honed.
Eclipse?
Been busy with the day job and take care of the family. That's kind of what's kept me away from the channel for a while.
So we've all experienced life, but we're coming back in. I wanted to tell you, Coach, I really like that last video you did about strengthening your door locks. That was pretty cool. All right.
I've got a couple more in the works on some things too. So we'll be seeing those coming up real shortly.
So getting right into it, guys, what we want to talk about is the mass shooting at the Gilroy-Garlic-Festival in California. And a news article that came out during that melee was that police had identified the suspect in the mass shooting at the Gilroy-Garlic-Festival as a 19-year-old Santino William Ligon. And the shooter, who was Iranian-Italian, was killed on the scene, and police are now in search for his brother and possible accomplice, Carlos Ligon. 4 people, including the suspect, were killed, and 15 others were wounded after at least one gunman opened fire Sunday evening at the festival in Northern California. Witnesses reported hearing multiple rounds fired and seeing people laying shot on the ground. Others said the gunman was armed with a rifle and dressed in some kind of vest and camouflage fatigues. Joy Alexio, a spokeswoman for Santa Clara County Medical Center, said the hospital was treating the patients generally with gunshot wounds. And NBC Bay Area reported that ambulance crews were called for reports of as many as 11 victims. Witnesses Ryan Wallace and Gilroy-Garlic-Festival shooter. I watched him walk up. He raised his gun and started spraying rounds all around. He was walking like he wanted to get stuff done. It was horrifying. He was ready to do some damage. So it turns out that, let me see, there's some more too. Liars and mentally ill liberals in the media pushing white supremacist narrative. Despite the fact that the suspected shooter Ligon identifies as being of Iranian descent and in social media posts complained about white twats, the usual liberal... Oh, this is... I guess this thing that I'm reading is kind of biased against liberals, and it says the usual liberals dipshits are fiercely trying to claim the shooter was a white supremacist. In a social media
That's
post
the first thing they do.
In a social media post on Instagram, Ligon posted a message asking people to read an anti-Christian anarchist social Darwinism piece of literature called Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard. He then complained about mistosis, mixed white native and white twats. Does that sound like a white supremacist? So I guess that's another part of that article. And then it says another shooting in a gun-free zone, which I think is something that we would really focus on. While the mainstream media and anti-gun politicians like Kamala Harris are already jumping on the gun control bandwagon, let me remind people that this shooting yet again happened in a gun-free zone. Since 1950, all but 2 of this country's mass shootings have taken place in a gun-free zone. I didn't know that. So, some things to talk about, and we got this story here from the Off-Grid Survival website, offgridsurvival.com. And so that's where I got this story from. And there's a few things to talk about here, especially when you're talking about thinking tactical. And there are things that we know are going to happen. The liberals are going to want to take guns. The right side is going to want to have more guns. Okay, yeah, be that as it may. Whether you have a gun or not, if you don't have it at that festival because it's a gun-free zone, it really doesn't matter what the politics are. Your butt is in a sling. Because you're going to be killed because there's someone there shooting and you don't have any guns. So I want to talk about, gentlemen, not necessarily the politics of it, but the practical aspect of protecting yourself while you are in one of these things. What do you guys do when you go to one of these, and they're gun-free zones, especially if you live here in Georgia? We have a carry permit laws that let us carry almost everywhere except where we need them. Like you can't carry it at the school unless you're dropping your kid off. You can have it in your car, but you can't carry it on a school ground. You can't carry it in public gathering places. You can't carry it in federal buildings or state courthouses. So places like that you can't carry. And so if you're going to go to something like the football game or the this or the that or the concert or whatever, you're not allowed to legally carry where people are going to be assembled. So what do you guys do to keep your family safe in the think tactical kind of ideas that we want to push on this channel when you take them to places like that? What do you guys think?
Well, think tactical. It's exact place for think tactical. What you do is you've got first thing you have to do is obviously be situationally aware. Like we say, when you're out and about, you're in condition yellow. Right, Bob?
That's it.
And you got to, even though you can't, the government has not allowed you to protect yourself in some of these places, you still have to take your responsibility for your own safety by doing certain things. I find myself, I do things like when I'm on an airplane. I just did a bunch of flying recently. And a stewardess goes and points out where the exits are. Well, they're clearly marked. But the trick is when I'm sitting in my seat, I count how many seats are to that exit, both in front of me and behind.
Sure.
Because if the plane goes down and all of a sudden the plane fills up with smoke and I have to get to that exit, I'm not be able to see the exit sign because of smoke. So I have to be able to count seats, so that I can put my hand on a seat and make my way and know that, hey, 9 seats up for me is an exit. It's things like that you do the same thing when you go to a big concert like that. You look for the exits. Don't get yourself stuck in the middle of a crowd. These are things you need to do to keep yourself from to take your own safety into account.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because I think that I was really oblivious to a lot of things, and then we had that Las Vegas shooting, and this guy is in a hotel room 30 stories up, 2 blocks away, and you're not even thinking about that. But something like that taught me, like, okay, if you have to be completely aware of your surroundings, like Coach Petro said, you have to be situationally aware. You got to be in the yellow. You got to be in code yellow where you're looking. These days, you got to look up in the sky. You got to look and see where the tall buildings are. And are you sitting in the middle of the pavilion to be rained down? I'm now trying to look to be maybe not so far up front or as close to the front as I can be. You know, if you've noticed in all of these shootings, they never shot the band because they're not trying to get the band, they're trying to get the people. And the people are concentrated really out in the middle, so they're spraying to the middle first and then out. So if I'm going to be sitting up front, I want to be sitting as close to the stage as possible so maybe I can duck under it or run on top of it and follow the band out because nobody really attacks the band. Or I'm looking to be in the back somewhere towards the concession where I can duck in behind. You need something. So in this case, Eclipse, this guy was shooting out of the woods. He got around security by, I guess, going through a chain link fence or something, cutting a hole in the fence, and then coming in through the woods.
Yep, that's exactly what he did. Right. He didn't come through the choke point. He didn't come through the checkpoint at the main entrance. Yeah, he cut his way through a fence. This is obviously an outdoor venue. But still, in outdoor venues, you need to be aware there should be more than one exit. There may be only one entrance. They should have people manning more than one exit. If everything is only one way out, that's not a good place to be. So, and the other thing to do when you go, especially one of these outdoor events, look around. Who is the security? Is it off-duty police officers? Is it unarmed rent-a-guards, or even worse, armed rent-a-guards? That makes a difference in what kind of security. I mean, that's what happened here. I think they had off-duty cops there as security, which is the only reason it wasn't worse than it could have been. They were able to move in and take this guy down. So,
well, some of the things I think about when I'm out with my family is, number one, in case we get split up, and a lot of times in these events when something goes haywire, everybody hits the cell phone, and you can't call people because the cell phone towers will be jammed. But when cell phone towers are jammed from talking, data can still go through. And it's much easier to get a short burst text message than sometimes it is to get a phone call. So I always, before I get the family out, and especially we used to do this in our motorcycle clubs, we still do, is we have a designated area. If we get split up, get to this area, this is the area that we're going to meet up at and get to where we need to go. Sending text messages instead of, if you can't call, sending text messages. Teaching my family how to find cover and how to get to higher ground and how to make themselves flat and move towards cover. These are things that I discuss with my family before we go out to these areas, things we never had to do before. And, you want to maybe look at, with a jaundiced eye, maybe you want to look at the forest around an outdoor event, maybe doing a constant kind of scan. And that's all, Myron, isn't that's all about being yellow, right?
That's condition yellow, being situationally aware. The other thing I look at is I don't go to the middle of the crowd. I stay on the outskirts. If you look at these shooters, they're not aiming. They're shooting into the middle of a crowd of people to try to get as much damage done as they could. So if you're on the outskirts, if you're one of the lone people on the outside of that big crowd, you have a better chance of survival than you would if you were in the middle of that crowd.
Yeah, all these things that we have to think about. It's just really kind of sad, but it's
it is sad, but it's also the same thing you do. Like I said, I do on the plane. When you get to a place like this, look for your exits. Like Bob said, look at the exits. Look and see who's manning the exit. Also, something else we do is what I do is look at, okay, which exit is most people going to go for, because that'll create a choke point and create the fatal funnel where everybody's going to be bunched up in one spot and make them easier targets. So what you want to do is look for the exit that's away. And once you get to that exit and get out, keep on going. Don't stop. Don't turn around. Get your ass moving and get as much distance away from it as you can.
Absolutely. tell me something, Eclipse. What is the best method to make sure that you don't get caught up in something like this?
Well, I am a somewhat crowd averse, so my joke here with Myron the other night is this is like birth control. The only 100% sure way to avoid something like this is don't go there.
Abstinence.
So,
it's kind of sad, but they say, we're not going to give up our way of life and we're not going to let them win, and maybe we do. There's a lot of that stuff, guys, abstinence. I just don't go to it anymore. And that's kind of sad, but when you think of all the things that can happen, there's I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to social media lately, but there's something that's been going on with the young people here lately across the country. Is they've been taking tops off of ice cream and licking the ice cream and putting the tops back on the ice cream.
Please.
And that has escalated to people opening up bottles of juice and things like that and spitting in them. And then just yesterday, they got a girl who sat on some potatoes and urinated on them. These people are sick out here, and the copycats are everywhere. And they're doing everything they can do to wild out and act with extreme chaos, including shooting people dead in the streets.
It's just a testament of the society. I mean, when we were growing up, you wouldn't even think of doing something like that. Never even crossed your mind to do shit like that.
Out of the question.
And now it's just it's. I think it's part of the way that they're being raised. They're just. I don't know how best to describe it, but it's a lack of morals and a lack of personal responsibility on these people.
Definitely. So, to kind of summarize, because we're getting close to the end of our time here, to kind of summarize, when you're going to these events, I mean, if you're going to go to the event, there's going to be some exposure and some risks that you will face. And to mitigate those risks, you want to think about having yourself in a place where you're not the first to be confronted, but you're also not in the middle of the pack where all the bullets are going to land. Sometimes you want to think about, being where the fewest people are, because that's where they're going to be shooting the least. You want to kind of make sure that you have some cover in between you and maybe some buildings over the top of you, or some trees that you're not standing directly in a line of a grove that someone could go into and shoot out of it. These are precautions that it's sad that we have to take. These are precautions that we have to take, like having a communications agreement with the family on how to connect with one another should there be a shooting or something like that, and everybody gets split up. Maybe have a place that everybody knows to meet back at, and everybody knows that you would maybe use your cell phone to text in case of a situation where everybody's on the phone and calls can't go through. So these are some of the things. Myron, do you have something to add?
No, I think you're pretty much covering it. I mean, I think it's a great idea to have a communication with your family. We do that for, fire drills inside the house where we're going to meet outside and things like that. So, you got to take that extension and extend it to everywhere else you go. From being on an airplane to being in a shopping mall or in a grocery store. If the shit starts hitting the fan, what are you going to do? Head for the exits. My wife works in grocery stores a lot, and she's already, I've got her thinking tactical, and she knows where the opposite exits are. She knows the obvious exits, but the ones that most people don't know about in the back. She knows how to get there. She knows how to go through those exits and get to those because she's scouting the store out. I got her in the mindset now of thinking tactical, which is a good thing because she did not do that for a long time. She was oblivious to what was going on, and now she's starting to be more self-aware of what's going on, and how to realizing that she's responsible for her own safety.
Amen.
And to do what she can to keep that up, and that's what our that's what Think Tactical is all about.
It doesn't mean you can't enjoy life anymore. It just, you need to be more aware of your surroundings. The situational awareness that we've spoken about before doesn't mean you can't go to these things. I mean, like I said, I'm a little crowd averse, but you just have to be aware of what your surroundings are. And if there's a concert, don't keep your eyes like everybody else focused on the band 100% of the time. Look around every once in a while. You can still hear the music. You don't have to see what's going on to kind of check out, your surroundings every once in a while. And if you're really concerned, and this one I'm going to soft pedal a little bit, but there's these ballistic backpacks. I don't know if people have thought much about these things. They're a little bit on the pricey side, but if you're really concerned about your safety and you really want to go in there and protect yourself, and they allow the things, that's the other thing. A lot of venues won't allow anything that's not clear anymore because they're afraid of what you might carry. But if they do allow them, that's an option to at least have something to protect yourself while you make your way to that exit, yourself and your family.
That's a good point, Bob.
So they've got ballistic backpacks now that...
Oh, yeah. This came along, I think, after the school shooting up in Connecticut. They got real popular. They're basically bulletproof backpacks.
Lord have mercy.
Made out of the same stuff that the police officers wear, those Kevlar vests. Now, I don't know how effective they would be against a long arm, but maybe at range they might.
They're not very effective against rifle rounds.
Yeah.
But you could. There are plates out there that you could pick up and you could buy ceramic plates and toss one into a backpack.
Yep. And now you've got something that is resistive. It is resistive to.
It will just the enhanced stuff will actually stop. It will actually stop AP rounds.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I guess that does it for us tonight. We want to give you guys some things. We want to give you our subscribers some things to think about, and while planning their tactical way around events and outdoor things, swap meets and concerts and all those kinds of things that we do outside. Still, we want to put some thought into being tactical and being ready and being yellow as we move about and have a great time, but keeping our eyes and our minds on safety and protecting our families at all time. You guys got anything left to say as we're getting ready to say goodnight?
I got one more thing I'd like to add to people listening out there. Get in the chat from our podcast. If you've got any ideas, something that we didn't think about, please share them.
Absolutely.
What do you do? We're all here to learn. We're all here to share ideas, and that's a great way to do it.
Absolutely.
Get in the chat and share some of your ideas and some things you're thinking about.
So you guys will be able to not only hear this on our Spreaker channel, we will also have this on our YouTube channel, Think Tactical, and you will be able to get this and some more information off of our news blog, thinktacticalnews.com. And, of course, as you are listening to this podcast, we're Think Tactical on the places where you get podcast service. So listen here, we thank you so much for enjoying us tonight and joining in with us and participating in the conversation. Please leave your comments below so we know how we're doing and what we can do better and more things that we can talk about and add to the discussion so other subscribers can learn and we can all become safer together in one big family of people who always think tactical. That's my 2 cents. Thanks for tuning in. And Coach Myron and Coach Petro, rather, and Eclipse Coleman, they say goodbye too. All right, guys?
Right.
That's it.
All right. Good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.
Bye-bye.